Traveling to a new country is always exciting for me. The new sights and sounds, the amazing food, and the culture are all very new. This trip was different. I left everything I knew and moved 2,000 miles from home. I went with no idea what the future would hold, but I had confidence in God's leading. From my earliest memories, I had always been interested in aviation. At a young age, my parents introduced me to flying while traveling for various work trips, and I loved seeing the world from a new perspective. In my early teen years, I got involved in several overseas mission trips to Southeast Asia. It was through these experiences that my worldview was thoroughly shaken. My heart was touched with how much need there is in this world, and how few people have access to the gospel in distant lands. From that moment on, I knew that I wanted to help people and use my life to be a blessing. In the summer of 2018, I was searching for a career path. One day, as I was praying, I asked the Lord to show me His plans for my life. Right then, I heard a quiet voice saying, Matthew 28. As I was reading that chapter, the last couple verses stood out to me in bright red letters. It was the Great Commission, where Jesus was instructing His followers to share the gospel with the entire world. I sensed that God was calling me to some form of missionary work. 2 weeks later, I was watching a video about mission pilots who are finding ways to share the gospel in very remote areas of the world. Chills washed over me as it suddenly became clear that God wanted me to be a missionary pilot. After considering the next steps, I decided to also get a mechanic's license as well as my pilot's license, so that I could properly care for and fix airplanes in the field. God miraculously opened the doors for me to study at the School of Missionary Aviation Technology in Ionia, Michigan, and miracle after miracle fell into place. Within just 4 days, I found myself at the orientation for the next year's class. 2 years and countless miracles later, I successfully finished my aircraft maintenance license as well as my commercial pilot's license. As I neared the finish of my aviation training program, I heard about a new aviation ministry called MiracleAir. They were making plans to share the gospel using aviation, as well as to offer air ambulance services in the most remote parts of Nicaragua, Central America. On October 15, 2020, I was accepted as a missionary pilot to serve alongside the Hansen family in Nicaragua. By the time I joined MiracleAir, an amphibious floatplane had just been donated, and I began specialized training to be able to fly it safely. After getting my seaplane rating, I continued flying and building my flight time and experience. Over a year of preparation followed, and in that time, I studied basic Spanish and shared my story at churches, seeking support for MiracleAir. In the process of launching, my commitment was severely tested. It was a long and hard process for me. I experienced countless setbacks and periods of discouragement, but through these trials, I learned to trust God's leading. Just as the project was launching in Nicaragua, Nancy Hansen, co-founder of MiracleAir, was diagnosed with 2 forms of cancer. Immediately, she underwent several surgeries and treatments in Central America. Even with the challenges that arose from these treatments, Nancy began a successful recovery. Through this time of uncertainty, the Hansens still saw God's leading as they pressed forward in faith. After several more months of preparation and fundraising, it was finally time for me to visit the MiracleAir project in Nicaragua. The Hansens met me in Costa Rica, and then together we drove to Nicaragua. We traveled across the Nicaraguan countryside and finally arrived at my new home in Pearl Lagoon. This small fishing town is situated beside Nicaragua's largest coastal lagoon, and its residents mainly speak English. This is one area we are considering for an airbase so that we can efficiently access more of the Caribbean coast with medical care. Our first airplane has already been equipped with a stretcher to help with transporting some of the most needy patients. MiracleAir's focus is the most remote villages of eastern Nicaragua. Nearly 200,000 people have very limited access to medical care in these regions. We have already seen that one of the most effective paths to sharing the gospel is often started by meeting people's physical needs first. Although aviation is expensive, it allows for new ways to access these remote regions. We are seeking additional supporters that can help us fulfill the mission of MiracleAir. To get started, visit the giving page on our website and see how you can get involved. Miracles are already happening, and I sincerely believe that Jesus is coming back soon. Thank you for being a part of the miracle of changed lives.